WEB. Joining me is technologist Matthew Dickerson with Tech Talk. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, good, thanks, Chris. Very good. Great to be chatting again.
Yeah, it is. And first off, starting with a term that I've just learnt myself, brushing. It's a scam, isn't it? Have you received some free stuff in the mail? And I'm asking that to all the listeners. Brushing, tell us all about it.
Yeah, look, when I hear brushing, you think of cleaning your teeth, obviously, but there's another technique. There are so many different techniques out there by scammers at the moment, and this is another one of those techniques which sounds, at face value, Chris, pretty good. You get some free stuff in the mail. So things turn up. It might be just something small, a Bluetooth speaker, something not worth a lot of money. Seeds are the latest thing that people are being using to brush people with. So you get some random seeds in the mail and you think, what's going on here? And what it is the scam, the way it works is essentially they're trying to get more people to review their products, look at their products. And so again, on face value, that sounds all right, but they're doing it all on your behalf. So they get your details, they get your details from somewhere, from some site somewhere, and then they actually make a purchase on your behalf. You receive the goods, but then they go and put reviews on those products. And what they're trying to do is boost their own products, make it look like lots of people are buying their products. And the reason they ship something like seeds, for example, is they're cheap, they're obviously inexpensive to ship, and so from a perspective of trying to sell things and create more sales, it might cost them a couple of dollars for the cost of the product and the actual transport or freight on that, but then they're getting this great review where you're giving it a 5-star review and you're saying how wonderful this product was and how good the service was. And so when people are making purchases, so many people now are starting to use those reviews in their purchasing decision. So a bit like the modern version, if you like, of being down at the pub, talking to a few friends and saying, hey, I'm going to buy a new widget. Where's the best place to go? And one of your friends says, this is the best place to go. The modern equivalent of that is looking at reviews. And that's where they're finding a lot of purchasing decisions are being made on those reviews. So somewhere up in the vicinity of 80% of people are saying they're looking at online reviews before they're actually making a purchase. So this brushing technique is a way to boost that product in that reviews scheme.
I haven't received any brushing, but I get this phone call from China, I think it is, every week or two, and then I go to my voicemail, and the voicemail is in Mandarin or Chinese language. So I guess that's something different, but that's what I normally get.
Yeah, and that is a different one. What they'll often do is you'll see a phone call come in and you miss the call, and it's set up for you to deliberately miss the call. They ring for a short period of time, and when you ring back, depending on the exact scam, one of the scams is if you ring back and talk for a certain amount of time, that'll add $5, $10 to your bill, and they're trying to do that to obviously thousands of people. They're robocalls around the world, and enough people ring back that it generates pretty significant income for them. So again, the frustrating part, Chris, is there's another technique. There are so many techniques out there where people are trying to take money illegitimately off other people.
Here's an exciting one. Are we a step closer to drone deliveries?
Yeah, I think we are actually. I think we're getting more and more technology being developed around drones. Amazon Prime Air is the latest to receive FAA approval in America. Now that doesn't mean that suddenly they're going to have every delivery going out via Amazon via drone, but it's a next regulatory step that's got to be jumped over. And they're the third one now, the third carrier out there that's actually been given FAA approval. So the idea is obviously you've got some pretty crowded cities in the US and around the world, and getting deliveries out there, getting drivers in their vans to find somewhere to park, pull that one parcel out, go and deliver it to your place. All of that process is fairly expensive, but also time consuming. And the plan from companies like Amazon is to get to the point where they can do 30-minute deliveries around a busy city, which sounds quite incredible. But the way they'll do that is the unused space up in the air. The roads are too busy, so go and use that unused space up in the air. So sure, Amazon, they've ticked off the next step there. We've already got a couple of others that have got those steps ticked off. Look, again, I think you'll start to see some of these until you get too many complaints about the noise from people, and then they'll have to come up with some other method, because drones are a little bit noisy.
Yeah, and Matt, how are Mexican cartels using drones, apart from the obvious one of pushing their drugs?
Well, this is the next step. Drones are fantastic. They can be used in all sorts of wonderful things, but there's always someone that wants to use something in the wrong way. And so the latest plan from some of these drug cartels is they're weaponising drones. So delivering parcels via Amazon, fantastic. I love that idea. But adding weapons to drones, mainly explosives, they haven't got a submachine gun mounted underneath them. Obviously, weight's a big issue for a drone. but you can have a fairly small explosive that can pack a fairly big punch. And they're using, some of these cartels are using this to attack their other cartels, so the ones that are their competitors in the market. There's also been a failed attempt recently on attacking a government official, obviously someone that was trying to shut down some of that drug trade, and good on them for trying that, but the ramifications are quite severe. So you would think that they might be used to deliver some drugs, the same way as Amazon might be used to deliver some parcels, but weaponising drones, that's the latest thing. And unfortunately, just the little drones you can go and buy from any electronics store are good enough to carry goods. I mean, they're great little drones, they've got a camera underneath them, but it's very easy to remove that camera, put a weapon there, or even just add the weight of a small explosive on the bottom there. So, yeah, that's something hopefully we don't get much more development in, but unfortunately at the moment it is happening.
Right, moving on. How close are we to chips in our brains?
Well, we like to do some experiments on animals, and there's already been some chips installed in pig brains. There's a pig named Gertrude that's got a coin-sized computer chip in her brain to demonstrate some of these plans to get to the stage where you've got chips in brains. And this is a startup company called Neuralink, and one of the backers of that is Elon Musk. He likes to get involved in a whole range of different things. And what they demonstrated with this recently was that as that pig was fed, as that pig could see food and had the smells of food and was chewing food, you could pick up different outcomes from the chip that was already installed in the pig's brain. And the idea is obviously very early stages at this stage, but the idea is to detect some neural activity, to work out what's going on in the brain, to then start to trigger things that might happen on the outside. And so one of the examples that I can see that's quite practical is that you might be able to have someone who's disabled, that might not have the use of their arms, for example, but they might be able to control a computer by actually thinking about different things. Now, unfortunately, that sounds great and looks great in a sci-fi movie, but we're a long way from actually understanding the human brain. So at the moment, they're just trying to put some of those links together. There are some doubts about whether we'll ever get to the point where we've got enough connections there to be able to understand some of those different outputs from the human brain, but they're trying, and in true Elon Musk style, he reminds me of Thomas Edison a bit. Thomas Edison was famous for making some grand announcement about something he was planning and then going to his team in the workshop and saying, right, I've made this announcement, how do we make it happen? And I think this is another example from Elon. They've demonstrated on a pig, but the reality, before we're going to have something inserted in our brains, is probably decades away at best.
Yeah, okay. And lastly, this morning, is wireless charging still a little clumsy?
It is a little bit, but there's some new products coming out now that are making it much better. So wireless charging, for anyone that's got a reasonably modern phone, it's been around for a few years now, you can basically have a charging pad. Cars are coming out with this feature now. You can buy charging pads, you can buy single, multiple charging pads, but unfortunately, normally you've got to sit the phone directly on the right spot, and sometimes you just bump it a little bit and next thing you know you left your phone for a couple of hours on the charger and nothing's happened. There's a new charging pad that's come out now, a Nomad base station, and it's basically using 18 coils across the charging pad so that you can put 3 devices on there. You can put a couple of phones, maybe some headphones, some wireless headphones to charge up, and it will not only work out where it is and direct those coils to be the one that charges it, but also change the power output of those coils to suit the actual device that's been sitting or that's sat on the actual charging pad. So very clever in what it does. And again, I think this is the next step. We've had charging pads for a little while now, but they've been a bit clumsy to use. I think we're going to that next stage where we're going to get much easier pads to use.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks for joining us today. Of course, you've got your YouTube channel. And how can people do a search on your YouTube channel, Matt?
Certainly, if you just search for 2WEB or search for my name, you'll find these interviews that we do each week, Chris, on our YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, and people can actually hear what they're saying, but also see me actually speak. And we don't get video from both ends, unfortunately, Chris. We just get a still of you at your end.
Matt, thanks for your time. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Chris.